Welcome everyone. In this video I will show how I electroplated small parts of my AC 2 litre with Replica-chrome. I bought this kit from Gateros here in the UK. A few years ago I tried their brush plating kit, which was useful practice. The problem with brush plating is that you only get a very thin layer which wears off easily. Here is my new kit, freshly arrived. It includes a power supply for accurate current control. This is the Gateros Ultimate kit, which includes a tank heater and circulation pump, which are highly recommended for getting good results. You will also need to obtain plenty of deionized water to mix the plating solution and also the cleaning solutions. I would also recommend buying some extra copper wire for hanging parts in the plating tanks. The supplied wire in the kit is too thin to hold heavy components, and it breaks easily after use. It is important to ascertain what the base material of each component is. If it is a zinc alloy, it can be easily destroyed in acid tanks and thus requires a more specialised approach. I started by dealing with brass and steel parts. I also have the Gateros chrome stripping kit, as seen here. It is an electrolytic process to remove chrome, which can also remove corrosion and dirt. One of my first plating projects was the petrol filler cap, as seen here. Removal of chrome reveals the nickel plating underneath, making it hard to notice when the chrome has gone. Nickel has a slightly yellow hue. The hundreds of scratches on the lid of this filler went right through to the brass base metal, so I sanded off the nickel. Then I polished it up on the buffing wheel. I left the nickel plating on the lower section. Good preparation is crucial, and this means a lot of cleaning processes. Firstly, degreasing, which I do using POR 15's cleaner degreaser. Then, depending on the component, possibly electrolytic cleaning or stripping, then sanding and buffing. It will then need cleaning with solvent to remove any buffing wax, then wash with soapy water before soaking in the GP1 alkaline cleaner supplied with the kit. I leave it in for at least 15 minutes. Then it is rinsed with deionized water. This also acts as a test. If the water beads on the metal surface, then it is not clean enough. Wax or oil will cause this. If the water forms a thin film across the metal, then it should be okay. Then it goes into an acid pickle, also supplied with the kit, which slightly etches the surface. I give it 2 to 3 minutes and then rinse with deionized water again. Then it goes straight into the plating tank, which I've preheated to about 33 degrees C, and switch on the circulation pump. The negative of the power supply connects to the item being plated. As you can see, I hang the parts from a piece of copper pipe and thread copper wire around the component. The current is set to a figure worked out from the surface area to be plated. It should be 0.1 of an amp per square inch. That would be 15 milliamps per square centimetre. For brass items I plate for 30 minutes or so. For steel components I give it 50 to 60 minutes. I might as well show you the completion of this filler cap. I also plated the spring and self-locking nut and made a new seal from Viton rubber to replace the rubberized cork original. There is a tiny vent hole in each of the brass plates with a vent chamber under the smaller plate. As a newbie to this process I did have some slight issues. Some rough plating seemed to be due to not getting the current setting quite right. It is worth measuring the area carefully. Some steel parts were too pitted to be able to give a smooth finish, or rather some of them did not need to look good as they are largely hidden from view. The pitted surface is difficult to get clean enough, with the result that the plating might be left with lots of pinholes, which will quickly rust after the plating. I tried electrolytic cleaning during the prep work, and then soon after plating I smeared wax oil on. These are the hose clips for the petrol filler pipe. I'm keen to restore all the original hose clips because they are far better quality than the modern equivalents sold by classic car parts suppliers. The writing on them is still clearly visible. This shows what condition they were in, with the one on the left sanded ready for polishing. The hose clips were originally zinc plated. I decided against getting a zinc plating kit, partly because there are very few items zinc plated on the AC, and I also have limited space in my workshop. I will probably have to buy copper plating kits later on. This is a brass knob for opening the quarter light window. These are coach bolts for the rear bumper. A lot of people buy bumper bolts and wing bolts for the AC, but they originally used Whitworth coach bolts. And here's the rear AC badge. A slightly bigger challenge was the door hinges. These were partly plated and partly painted to match the body colour. Needless to say, they were also worn. I decided to make new pins from 1/4 inch high tensile bolts, filing the head into a dome shape. Then removed the zinc plating ready to Replica-chrome plate the pin. You can't plate directly over zinc with Replica-chrome. I plated the 2 brass flaps at the outer ends and included the pinholes to try and take up some of the wear. This worked well on the upper hinge, on the driver's side, which had the most wear. The lower hinge had a broken pin with each half seized into 2 brass flaps. This was not going to be a 5-minute task. Having established that the pin was completely seized, I resorted to drilling it out on my bench drill. Firstly to 3mm, then 5mm, then I filed the hole to get it centralised before drilling by hand to 6mm, then filing to release the remains of the pin. A popular approach to repairing brass hinges is to drill out 7mm and make or obtain oversized pins. This is a good approach if the wear is really bad. I've heard some people recommend hammering the hinges to make the holes oval and narrower. Please don't do that. Plating high tensile parts might present a problem known as hydrogen embrittlement. Technical articles I've read online suggest that this is mainly a problem for very high tensile steels above 1000 kilopascals, that's about 65 tons per square inch. The BSF bolts I'm using are rated at 45 tons per square inch. If you need to reduce the risk of hydrogen embrittlement, you should avoid electro-cleaning and also reduce the time in the cleaning tanks and, if possible, less time and current during plating. Then put the part in an oven for 2 hours at 200 to 220 degrees C soon after plating. The zinc alloy parts present a major problem. These can be destroyed in acid stripping tanks and plating tanks. I've heard of the very rare door handles for an AC being destroyed this way, and it is worrying that most ACs do not have their original style of handles. The boot lid handle and some interior fittings are also zinc alloy, as are the little covers over the budget locks. Another issue is that these parts can be badly pitted. The answer to the first problem is to remove the old plating with abrasives and then brush plate a neutral nickel strike solution onto the component. That is, a solution that is neutral on the pH scale and thus not damaging to this material. Then it can be plated in the usual way in a tank. To deal with pitting, you might need to apply a heavy plating of copper, which can be abraded and buffed until smooth. If the pitting is very bad, then you can apply solder over the copper as a filler. Finally, it can be Replica-chrome plated. I hope to tackle some of those parts later in the year and we'll do a video. A small bonus to end this video is that my new SU fuel pump has arrived. Stocks of these pumps are low, but I managed to get this one from Holden. It's my first order from Holden and it arrived within 24 hours. I never had any problems with the old pump, but the most likely trouble is if you don't run the car for a while in a damp climate. That can cause the contact breaker points to fail. Many people then ruin the points by cleaning with abrasives, removing the surface coating. It is best to clean them in a less destructive way if possible, although if they are badly oxidized you might have little choice. But try a very fine abrasive first. This new pump has electronic contact breakers, so that issue is avoided. The red band indicates that it is for positive earth car. It is also rated for a 12 volt system and is a low pressure pump for mounting near the engine, also referred to as a puller. The AC has a high mounted fuel tank, effectively a gravity feed, so this pump doesn't have to pull very hard. That's all for this video. Thanks for watching.